How's it going today, guys? Welcome to another episode of Archaeologistic Talks to Everyone. I've been a Twitch streamer for over a year now, not too long. Lots of little shows of various things, and so I started phoning people on stereo, just talking to people on stereo, and I thought I would share that with the Twitch community and with the world, right? And it's been a lot of fun having a lot of meaningful talks with people of all walks of life, anywhere out there. I just don't know who I'm going to talk to. That's the only catch, right? So try and roll with it. Try to have nice conversations. I got a couple ground rules that I'd like to cover at the beginning of every show, just to make sure if anybody is new around here that they could sort of know what's going on. So the first rule is I don't talk to youth, I don't talk to minors, just out of give respect to the parents. I don't want to record and stream your child, right? So I try my very best to screen for that. If someone does sound young, I swipe them away. It's no disrespect, but yeah, we won't be chatting with minors if possible, if I'm aware of it anyways. So yeah, try my best for that one. I also try to keep things a little positive, so I try not to have people using a lot of foul language. Anything goes around here, guys. We're all adults in some ways, but I really do try to keep it clean. All right, and this is perfectly random. So again, sometimes you land on somebody who is not that, and so to that I would like to say, if you do come across any language you don't like hearing, anything that is you personally find offensive, or you just don't feel like hearing that kind of thing, by all means listen to something else. All right, come on back when maybe we'll try again with someone else, you know what I mean? But it won't hurt my feelings, and I want to give you that respect, right? So I had a wonderful Apex Legends stream earlier today, slowly grinding the ranks. It's such a fun game. I highly recommend it. All right, guys. Giannis, Mark, and Knight Rider, thanks very much for the Twitch follows. Okay, guys, we're gonna phone. This is it. We're gonna phone somebody random in this world on planet Earth. Who are we gonna talk to? I don't know. Let's see how things are going. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just turn Spotify down just a touch. This is a royalty-free playlist, by the way. If you like what you hear, it's called Twitch Arjuna Beats. You can find that on Spotify, and it's all royalty-free stuff that is Twitch safe and therefore stream safe. It's good stuff. Great stuff, actually. So many artists, I can't name them all, but they're all wonderful. So yeah, we're just going to turn that down just a touch. I don't mind some tunes in the back, but I want to be able to hear people. And let's do this, okay? This podcast is available on all major podcast platforms. I'm doing it through Anchor, and so you can go on Anchor there and find me, of course, but it distributes to Google Podcast, iTunes, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other ones, right? So yeah, if you want to listen to this again, if you miss something, you want to catch it, there's also past episodes there on your Spotify. So basically just look it up and be sure to follow it. All right. I've had some great chats so far. It's been a good time. You guys ready? I think I'm ready. All right, let's do it. Here we go. Nia? Hello?
Nia.
Nia. That's the name I see. How are you today?
It's Nia, not Nia, but who's Nia?
That's what it says there. I'm sorry, am I mispronouncing it? How do you say it?
Yeah, it's Nia.
Naya.
I said Nia.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm live on Twitch talking to random people around the world today, and we've landed on you, so I'd love to know how you're doing.
I'm good.
Yeah, right on. Okay.
How about you?
I'm great. I just did a stream earlier with some video game stuff, and now I'd like to do sort of just talking to people, right? So, is there anything you'd love to talk about today?
No.
No? All right. Well, I'm calling you from Canada, Ontario, Canada. Where are you from?
CT.
I'm sorry, where?
Hartford, CT.
Okay. Where's that?
Connecticut.
Connecticut, right on. Okay, the U.S. Wow. So not too much of a difference in culture there, that's for sure. Canada and America share a lot in common, that's for sure. Canadians here, up here in Canada, we watch American TV
Yeah.
only. I
It
mean,
was nice talking to you, Will.
sure, yeah. Yeah, all right. Hello, Lionel.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
What's up, man?
I'm good, man.
Good, thank you.
Right
How are
on,
you?
right on. Excellent. I'm calling you from Ontario, Canada. I'm live on Twitch, just having some random chats with people from around the world, and so we've ended up with you, and just like to find out how things are going over there.
Over there. Oh, you mean where I'm from?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I'm from Lebanon.
Lebanon, yeah.
Okay, that's yeah, you know, Middle Eastern country.
Oh,
tiny,
yes.
Small.
Oh, it's beautiful, man.
Very-
I've seen
Very
pictures.
small.
I'm calling you from Ontario,
It is
Canada.
beautiful. Yeah, that's pretty far away.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Well,
it
Canada's
is.
beautiful as well.
The snow is finally gone, though, where I live, anyway. So there's no more snow here for the rest of the year. Lebanon is a very, very hot place, as I as I can imagine.
Actually, no. Here's a misconception that everybody has.
Sure.
It's actually not a desert. It's like the only Middle Eastern country which has no desert in, so that's cool.
Okay.
And it's actually very, very cold now and the winter, but it does get very hot.
Really? Okay. So, does it have a mountain range and forests and everything, kind of like Canada?
Yeah, all of it is a mountain range. A lot of mountains. A lot of
Really?
forests, a lot of trees.
Okay,
A lot of cedars.
did not know
Which is
that.
a tree that's found on the flag.
Right on. Wow. Okay. I'm really glad. I'm really glad you shared that with me, because this is exactly why I do this, is to learn a few things. So can you? There's like when I said mountains too, I mean, like, is there skiing? Is there like mountains with snow caps and?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, there are some ski resorts. Yeah. Actually, the cool thing is you can go onto a ski resort, and while you're skiing, you can actually see the sea, like the ocean. From the ski resort.
Oh wow. Amazing, man. Honestly, I'm being honest with you here. I don't know very much about Lebanon. I've met Lebanese Canadians, you know, going to
Yeah,
school and stuff. There's a lot of Lebanese people here.
Yep. True. Very true.
Have you?
I
Have you?
actually very much.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
What were you
sure.
saying?
Sure. Have you ever traveled much?
Well, I've been to Turkey. I wouldn't call that traveling because
I would.
it's kind of close.
It's close for you,
Yeah,
but
well, it is traveling. Yeah.
it's very different.
No, but
bet-
most people would expect. Yeah, but when people ask, like, have you traveled? I mean, some people expect me to say, like, Japan or Spain, but I've been to Turkey.
Sure. Yeah.
I was born in Saudi Arabia, so I kind of lived there for a while.
Right on.
So
Okay.
I'm not really much out there.
Sure. You know what? I've never been here in Canada. I've driven Canada a few times. It's a very large place, so it takes weeks to get across the country over
It
and
is.
over. In Lebanon, you're lucky because you can access Europe. You can access the Middle East. Here in Canada, you're kind of stuck unless you pay for a very expensive plane ride, right? I have traveled the South
Yeah,
Pacific.
planes are pretty expensive.
I've done the islands in the South Pacific and New Zealand and Australia and things long ago, but that's about it.
Oh, you've been there.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
but
But
that's-
I've never
that's so
seen
cool.
Europe. I've never seen the Middle East. Using the Stereo app here, I have run into quite a few people in the Middle East, Dubai and North Africa. It's been really
That's
cool to
cool.
meet people and ask them
Well-
sort of what life is like over there. You know.
If you're gonna visit the Middle East, I recommend you go Lebanon, Egypt, and Dubai. Like, that's the top 3 places you can actually visit in the Middle East.
Very
You can visit the rest of the places, but they're not very like tourism.
Right.
places.
Okay. Well, as the name implies, I'm an archaeologist here in Canada, and so I would really like to see museums and those famous. I mean, your part of the world has the most famous archaeological digs of all time, like of anywhere
Yeah,
in the
we
world,
actually
right? So
do. So I'm not really very into archaeology, but I know there are a lot of Roman ruins, Phoenician ruins. Do you know what Phoenicia is? It was a very it was a very old empire or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Like for example, they teach you in history that Christopher Columbus discovered America. That's not true.
No.
He did not discover America. It was actually Phoenicians that did it. But of course, let's just teach everyone that Christopher Columbus did it.
Here in Canada, we have a long proven history of Viking settlement. So people from Norway,
Vikings, yeah.
Norway, and then England, of course.
Yeah, Norway, Sweden.
During that time, it wasn't Europeans have a history of coming to the Canadian waters. The east coast of Canada has what's called the Grand Banks. It's a very famous fishing place, right? Unbelievable for fishing, and so the world has been fishing there a long time. But no one really settled here from the European side of things. We have indigenous people who've always lived here, as far thousands and thousands of years, right?
Was Canada colonized by the British and by the French?
Yes, but that was like sort of around 1550 is a good sort of guess. Around there is when Europeans started actually making settlement here. But the Vikings predate that a little bit. Other than that, it's the indigenous people here that were here for thousands and thousands of years. Before any Europeans. And as far as Phoenicians are concerned, I'm afraid I don't know anything about that. That might have been some sort of, like in America. I just don't know very much because I'm Canadian, right?
Well, Phoenicians is what we are. Like Lebanese people aren't typical Middle Easterns. Like we're actually, a lot of us are, like we have, it's not considered an ethnicity.
No, culture, cultural roots, right?
Yeah, it's more of a culture. We're not of the same ethnicity that other, I'd say, Arabian people are from. Like we're not typical Middle East. We don't have that Middle Eastern look. We look more white than we look Middle Eastern.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah.
But do you? I've seen pictures of Phoenician boats. They look a little bit like an Egyptian boat. If the ancient Egyptians' boat had boats, and the Phoenician ones look very similar, at least in the pictures I've seen drawn. There's no photos naturally, but yeah, it looks about that. It doesn't really look. It doesn't look seaworthy. It doesn't look like something that could cross the Atlantic Ocean. But I'll take your word for it.
Actually, I think they've traveled the world. To be honest, like that's what they teach us. Anyways.
Wow, those boats are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at the Viking boat. Well, I mean, it doesn't look like it can really rock the Atlantic very well either. So
they must have suffered. They must have suffered.
Yeah, well, the Vikings there's a lot of trade route and paths that would suggest that what Vikings did is they got to sort of like picture like England and Ireland, right? And then they would go up and over, and so you would along the ice you could hunt seal and things like that as you go across and over to the Canadian waters, for example. And so you're always never too far from shore on that very northern side of things, right? But as far as the Phoenicians are concerned, I don't think that's a lot of shoreline to go all the way around while still maintaining access to the shore. Yeah. Cutting straight across the Atlantic.
And they are very old.
Yeah.
For Christianity. So
yeah. And I got to be honest with you, man. I will never doubt the ingenuity and skills of ancient peoples. It's always surprising when people do, in my opinion.
I think they also discovered like the first language or something like that.
Really, like
the first actual letter.
Well, there's like Babylonians and things, right?
Based. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I can't say I know too much about that either. Can you tell me some basics about Lebanon? I'd love to know. Here in Canada, our cell phones cost a fortune. This is a topic I like bringing up to people because it's something we can all relate to. But we pay so much money. We pay about $80 Canadian a month for a cell phone plan, right, from a service provider, right? And that's
$80 a month.
Oh, that's about. It's around $50 to $60 US is what we pay per month for our cell phones. I'm just curious. Is it cheap over there?
No, we always consider it very expensive.
Oh yeah.
It is a little bit less. It's like $40 a month.
Okay.
But if you want to get more plans and more data, because $40 still ain't really that. Like it's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's not much if you're if your work is online and you have to like be places and work
Right.
sometimes away from home,
Yeah,
where there's no Wi-Fi, so it might go up to $60. So it's kind of the same.
right.
It is very
We have
expensive.
really bad plans here for $30 a month too, but they're terrible. You can barely any phone at all, right? So, yeah, I get that. How about
Yeah, and
how about an
they like-
apartment? How much is an apartment there?
Oh well. Here's the thing. Now, things are different here for the past year and a half, because we're having like a sort of. It's not a sort of. It is an economic crisis. We're having inflation. Like, I'm gonna give you like an example here. Like, the exchange rate, of course. So $1 used to be equal to 1,500 pounds. So that's Lebanese pounds. Okay. So you with me here?
Yeah, yeah.
Now the exchange rate is $1 equals 15,000 pounds,
Oh my gosh.
which is a very,
Oh.
so like a zero. 2 zeros were added.
Just over the
No,
past 2 years.
Yeah, 1 0. Yeah, even not the past year. It's like since fall of 2019.
Oh my god, man. Wow.
Yeah, it is crazy. And
Okay, so
Prices are
that
really
means
high
that an
now.
apartment is very
Yeah.
food is expensive, right?
well, there are some stuff that are still like they're like, I don't know what's the term for it, but they're like supported by the government, which means like the government still doesn't consider the new exchange rate for them, so they like pay they like waste a lot of money to keep the price. Like, it's for cell plans, right? Like cellular plans,
Right.
plans, not plans.
Yeah, and
cell
there-
phone plans. It's still kind of like it's still $40, but it should be a lot. It should be a lot more. Like in Lebanese pounds, it should be more, but we still kind of pay on the previous exchange rate. So considering apartments, okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you live here, we have like a major capital city is Beirut, okay, and there's a lot of villages, towns around it. So because a lot of Lebanese people live like around the coastline.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of jobs are there and stuff like that. So if you're living outside of Beirut, the rent if you want to rent an apartment, it's gonna cost you around $500 a month, or even $600 depending on the size,
A one bedroom.
which is a lot. To be honest. No, $500 will get you 3 bedrooms,
What?
3 bathrooms, a kitchen, a living room. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like the.
Hey man, it's like
Yeah, but
in the cities here in Canada, you're for a one bedroom, you are going to pay $800 to $1,000 a month. You'd be lucky if you found one for 6 or
you have to
7.
consider something here. But the minimum wage here is different. Like the minimum wage here is about $600, and with the new exchange rate, it's basically $50, not even $600. So imagine if your wage is $600, you're paying $500 of that for just rent.
Right.
Is that
Okay.
a fox? I can see a fox. Is that a fucking fox? I swear to God, that's a fox.
Amazing.
I've never seen a fox in my life.
Wow.
It's the first time I've seen a fox. Like,
I've
it's a
seen.
weird looking. You know when you know, it's like a weird looking dog. So
Yeah.
It's not a dog.
When you see it, you're like, "There's a dog," and then you look, you're like, "That's not a dog." And then now you're asking yourself, "Well,
Yeah.
what is it?" We have coyotes here. We have coyotes and foxes here, and that throws you off every time as you're driving through the country, or for the people that live here in the country. There's all kinds of animals that just come walking up. In North Canada,
Really?
there's also bears. Here in Canada, we don't have a lot of dangerous things. There isn't a lot of animals that will hurt you, or want to hurt you. Like,
Mhm.
there's not a lot of poisonous snakes or bugs or anything. It's a very
I'm gonna
safe place
close
in
on
that
this.
regard, right? But yeah, there's cougars.
Well,
and that sucks. They'll pick up your child and run away with it.
Cool. Oh Jesus! Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you now about the wildlife we have here.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of dogs, a lot of cats.
sure.
Probably common to every other place. But there are a lot of bugs, especially in the summer. In the winter, you'd never see bugs, but in the summer, my God, like you just wake it up 3 a.m. I just want to go into the bathroom. You go into the bathroom, turn the lights on, and 2 cockroaches just fucking
Oh, wow.
just speeding down. Like, I can't deal with cockroaches. Man.
Yeah,
They're disgusting.
They're
Ah.
terrible. I agree.
And you might find spiders. You might want to go into your room and then you find a big ass spider just on your wall, but not like tarantulas. Those are rare. You don't find like Australian. kind of
Yeah,
spiders.
right.
But
Okay.
they're still big enough to make you afraid.
Ah!
um,
Amazing.
there's a lot of scorpions, depends on where you live. There are scorpions. There are centipedes. You know what centipedes are?
Yep.
Like very long.
Yeah, we have very
yeah,
small, harmless
they're
ones
very
here.
scary. No, we have those that like I had actually one on my hand. I'm very blessed that it hasn't stung me, because if it has, I would have like a scar.
Oh wow.
Like because it has like 44 legs or something like that. Yeah, it can't sting.
No, thank you.
Yeah, there are snakes. There are snakes as well.
Okay.
It might sound very exaggerated. It is. I'm kind of exaggerating. Like they are present, but there's a low probability you're gonna face any of these.
Yeah, right. This isn't in the
Cockroaches
cities.
and spiders you might see, but snakes, yeah, not really. But there are still some snakes
Right.
because we have a lot of olive trees. Like, we have a lot of forests. A lot of our trees are pine trees and olive trees. Yeah, so we have oil, but not that kind of oil. We have the cheap oil,
Sure.
the olive oil,
Yeah, no,
Not
that's good stuff.
not the oil.
That's the kind I prefer.
Yeah. And
Well, here in Canada,
but
we
we
have
don't
a,
have,
we have a lot of
we don't have-
mosquitoes here. Is there a lot
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
mosquitoes there?
yeah, same. Yeah, there are a lot of. Also depends. In the winter, you might not really see a lot of mosquitoes, but in the summer, my god.
Oh my
And they
god.
just won't go away. Like, you know, when you're sleeping, and the thing is, like, I'd like talk. Sometimes I go crazy and I'd be like, go suck out my blood out of my hands, my legs, just leave my ears, go away from my ears, let me sleep.
I don't know why mosquitoes
some
pick
reason
where they
they
bite, but yeah.
They love to go around your ears.
Amazing. Well, here in Canada, like I live in Ontario, Canada, near Toronto, so it's very it's the most southern part of Canada, and so the mosquitoes. There are mosquitoes here, but it's not bad, and not bad at all, right? If you drive north, though, get to where real Canada is. Okay, it's not in the southern Ontario. It's like most of Canada's much farther north than where I am, right?
But I thought
And-
mosquitoes don't like cold weather.
Well, those bugs, man. The thing is that like a city like Winnipeg, okay, it's a frozen wasteland, and then when it actually thaws, it's no-see-um season. All these little tiny biting bugs come. Black fly season. All these black flies come, and I'm talking billions, if not trillions of them. You can barely walk around, right? And then mosquito season comes when those go away, and then the winter comes and it's a frozen wasteland again. Like there's there's a lot.
Oh, okay.
Winnipeg is full of wonderful people, but a place like that city, the city of Winnipeg used to spray the city. I don't know if they still do, but they used to actually like spray to kill all the mosquitoes, which doesn't work at all. There's still
Yeah, well,
literally
they
billions.
do that
but
here, but it doesn't really work.
I don't want to
haven't
breathe
seen
that.
any,
I don't want to breathe
some
that
very-
stuff in, man. Like. some-
Yeah. But they tell
pesticides?
us to close like the windows and stuff. like that.
Oh yeah, okay, that's
like when they're gonna.
well, that's gonna fix the problem, right? I mean, they're still pesticiding the city.
Yeah, there are no holes. There are no like. It's gas, you know. It finds a wall. Yeah, I'm gonna go back where I came from.
No big deal, right?
That's how gas works. You know what? Actually, because last year we had a very big explosion. I don't know. If you heard of
Yes, absolutely. I read a lot of news, and that was tragic, man.
it. Yeah, and if you see the videos, like it looks like an atomic bomb.
I've never seen anything like it.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It is the third like biggest explosion in history. It's like just behind the two ever only dropped atomic bombs.
Wow.
Those that were dropped like on Japan.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was that big. And the thing is, like we got kind of lucky because the explosion happened on the port.
Yep.
It's like by the sea. So, and you know how explosions work? They work in a like radius diameter kind of way. So like half of the intensity went into the sea, and there's an island called Cyprus, which is like 200 kilometers away from Lebanon.
Yes.
It's kind of in the middle of the Mediterranean.
Very
And they
famous
felt
place.
it there. Like the shockwave. Yeah, the shockwaves have reached them.
Wow.
It was that crazy. And another thing that kind of helped, there's a very like big building. It's like kind of a silo, in which like the whole country's like, you know, grains and wheat and stuff like that are stored there. So that building, because it's very like strong, it also like kind of took a lot of the intensity from the explosion. So yeah, it's crazy. It's just very crazy. Anyways, well, I forgot my point.
Oh, that's okay.
I had a point. I forgot my point. I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask
I was
you.
gonna go somewhere with this.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about life after the explosion. I would consider you an
Mhm.
authority on it, seeing as you're there. Are things still back? Did things recover like back to normal, or is there still a lot of problems in
Well-
relation to the explosion?
Well, here's something about Lebanon. We tend to move on quickly. We tend to adapt very quickly. So, well, the explosion was devastating. Like because Lebanon is a very small country. It's like the whole of the country is like 10,000 square kilometers, which is like the size of New York. Even
Yeah,
though
right.
it's smaller. Yeah, but so which means everybody heard it. But the thing is, because Lebanon is a mountain range, a lot of like
What's up,
towns,
Royal?
like have a view of the whole city. So a lot of people manage like to see this, this big pink cloud. I was one of those people because I was just at my house. I had exams, finals at my university, and I just came home, which is in the capital city of my university. So I was at home. It
Okay.
was around 6 p.m. here. And then the thing is, like, you know how explosions work. Like, first of all, I sensed this like huge wind. It was like it was a very huge wind, and I was like, wait a minute, this is August. Why is there a
Wow.
storm? What am I missing?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the sound comes later, and it was a very big sound. And being a typical Lebanese, because we have history with that stuff, the first thing we thought about, someone was assassinated. It's a politician. He's assassinated. Someone killed him. That's the first.
Oh,
thing that
that's
pops up
the
into your
first thing, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
mind. Yeah. And then I went like onto the balcony, and I saw this like huge pink cloud. And then I went onto the news, and yeah, it was very like there's a lot of hospitals around that area.
Okay.
And the thing, sorry, and the thing is, a lot of people were in the hospitals, and some people were like delivering their children, and some people were
Oh.
were having surgery.
Everything, yeah, everything hospitals do.
And everything like it was so intense that a lot of people who have had injuries, they have to like paramedics took care of them outside of the hospital, like just on the streets. And a lot of like people from around the country like rushed to that place to help people because it's a small country. You can reach in about half an hour. You can actually reach that place.
Right. Okay.
So now considering the aftermath of that, of course, after that kind of explosion, the government just resigns. The prime minister resigns.
Amazing.
Well, it took him a while. It took him a week. He should have resigned instantly, but okay.
Wow.
Anyways. And then, of course, the president goes on to the media and says, well, we're gonna find out who did this in 5 days. It's been 7-8 months and nothing has happened. No one knows the reason. No one knows why. It's ammonium. Everybody says it's ammonium nitrate. Like,
Yeah,
first of
right.
all, why do you
That's
have
what I hear. Is
tons
that,
of ammonium nitrate on the ports where like that's crazy. First of all, explosive stuff. What are they doing there? That's one. Second of all, who has the intentions of blowing up a whole city, which is also crazy. Like it's not that hard to find out who did it.
yeah. See, my Canadian instincts are just saying that this was an accident, that it wasn't stored properly, and something bumped it, or do you know what I mean? We don't jump straight
yeah,
to
but the thing is, like,
someone
with this
attacking.
kind of,
You know.
with these kind of explosions, it's not an incident. Like they tell you it's an incident, but it's not because for ammonium nitrate to explode, it needs a lot of like firepower.
Okay.
There needs to be a lot of heat.
A cigarette
Makes
won't do it.
potential. Like no accident. Yeah. No, and the thing is, like in that same, I don't know, they call them lots. There were also fireworks. So the first thing that happened, like a lot of fireworks were like, yeah, basically all fireworks were going off. Ironically.
Wow. Yeah.
That thing caused like a lot of flame for the explosives to explode.
Okay. Maybe.
But a lot of people say like there's a lot of speculation.
Of
Some
course.
say it's Israel because we have history there. If you want to know about it, I can tell you. But
Well,
a
yeah.
lot of people say terrorists. An accident is a possibility, but holy fuck, like that person who caused an accident, like how do you live? How do you even live with that?
I don't think whoever lit it
Well, he's probably
survived
that.
because
Well,
you
he's
know.
he or she is probably they're probably that. Anyway. And the thing is, like, a lot of firefighters like died from the explosion because a fire happened earlier, so a lot of people rushed there to like turn off the fire.
Oh.
It's actually crazy. Like a lot of people tell me stories like they passed that place like 5 minutes, or after 5 minutes that the explosion happened. A lot of firefighters say like they were getting ready to go there, or they were about to reach that place before the explosion happened. So
Wow.
a lot of people were really like, yeah, like they were blessed not to die again.
No kidding, man. Wow. Yeah, just from all the international media that I've read, from a few sources, everybody just sort of says it's accidental, and they brushed it off to that. I'm not sure the investigation part of it is over. I never caught
But
any
yeah,
final word
that's
on
the
the
thing.
subject. You know?
That's the thing. Like they said, okay, we'll investigate it. We'll know 5 days a week. Everybody will know. 7 8 months investigation is still going on. There are like judges who are like on the case, and they keep changing them because Lebanon's very much divided, like by a lot of religious groups. There's a lot of Muslims, Christians,
Sure.
even sectors like yeah, and there are a lot of political parties as well, which they're also like divided based on these religious groups. The people aren't really like we're not really divided. Like we just don't care who you are, what you are.
Right.
But it's just the authority. It's the politicians. You know, that's how they get. That's how they have their power. That's how they retain this power, is by getting people around them, keeping this division,
No,
and
so
that's very sad because a lot of yeah. Go ahead.
or sorry, are you suggesting that these groups, and let's just call them groups because I'm sure there's a wide variety of them, are directly
Yeah.
influencing the investigation? As in, like, they're going to come to different conclusions based on what group you're with?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and the thing is because they're very corrupt. Okay. 'Cause
Okay.
basically, the parliament. We have elections. Okay, we have like elections every 4 years, parliamentary elections.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that a lot of the people are brainwashed, especially the boomers. Uh, 'cause, they lived through the war and they still have like grudges for other groups. You know?
Right. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
that's war. Like, yeah, they still have, so they still kind of vote for their own, you know, politician that resembles their kind of religious group. And so the parliament is also divided, and the government has to be divided as well. Like, okay, you have to have 5 Christians and 6 Muslims, or 5 and 5. You know, it's more than that, but I'm kind of simplifying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
there's
I
a lot of,
understand.
like, and like ever since that government, by the way, resigned, we still don't have a government. Till this day, we're still, despite all the inflation, despite the starvation that's going on.
Wait, Lionel,
despite all that,
there's no active government right now.
no, there's no active government.
So
Nope.
who's driving the bus, man? It's not like a military thing, or is it? Or
No, they don't let the military do shit because the military doesn't act based on political decisions.
that's
Of
good.
course, they're
That's a
not
good
gonna
thing.
want that.
Yeah.
It's still the resigned government. They still, like, when a government resigns, they still kind of do their work, you know, but they can't like do a lot of new executive.
I see. They can't. They
Like,
can't enact new
but they still-
policies or take any new actions unless they hold another election.
Yeah, but they still keep everyone alive. Which, wow, thank you very much for keeping me alive. They're not even doing any good job with that, but
Right
they-
on.
they
Wow.
try, or that's what they say.
Well, I mean, look. Let's be fair to them on just one point. Is that the explosion changed a lot in their country? That was a very difficult moment for Lebanon, no doubt. And so, picking up the pieces and trying to maintain an economy and all that during that time, and then COVID comes. I mean, it must be.
Well,
I'm no fan of
here's the-
bureaucrats, man. I don't love bureaucratic people. I don't love bureaucrats, but I will say that that's at least a mess that is hard to clean up. You know, I'll recognize that, right?
Well, you have to recognize something at first. Like, they are the cause of that mess. They are the ones who have put these explosive in which they should not
Well,
be.
you've got a
There
point.
should not have been any explosive in that place. And that's one thing. That's just one problem. Like I told you something about economic crisis and inflation. This is not even related. It's not related to COVID. It's not related to the explosion. Basically, what has happened, Lebanon's economy relies a lot on tourism and banking. Like, what I mean by that is that there's kind of it's like Switzerland with their banking. There's a secrecy. I don't know. I apologize for not knowing the like technical terms here. But what that means is that if you go like into a bank and you create an account and you put money into that account, basically no one has the authority to know how much money you have. Not even the government. That's what I mean by secrecy. That's why
see.
a lot of people like go on and like have bank accounts in Switzerland because they have the same kind of policy. And so what these banks used to do is that they give a lot of they give high rates, like high interest rates. So what they say is that you put your money here and we'll give you like yearly about an increase 4 to 5% in that amount. So basically your money's kind of increasing year after year. So they've
Okay.
encouraged a lot of people to do that. And the thing about Lebanon, there are a lot more Lebanese people that live outside Lebanon than in, right?
Sure. Okay.
There's about like
yeah.
20 million Lebanese people that live outside Canada, USA,
Right here in Canada, man. Yeah, there's a lot.
The Gulf regions, South America, literally everywhere. Seriously, everywhere. So a lot of these people have put their money in here, and the thing is, because our economy, like the government does not, how shall I say, like they do not export as much goods as they import, which means they spend a lot of money.
Okay. Yeah.
And the thing is, like these banks, they've given the government loans, like the central bank. They're basically loaning the government.
That's not great. Yeah, that's not great.
Being very corrupt. They've stolen a lot of the money. It's not like directly they've stolen, but what they do is that a lot of the companies that take care of infrastructure and stuff like that, they're owned by them. So you know they're taking much more money than they should be.
Well.
And the thing is, like we've reached the point where there's no much money anymore. Like there's no much money in the banks, which means that the government has spent all of the money for every single person,
and has a massive debt to the banks.
They've spent it. So if you have an account in US dollars, because we deal with US dollars and with our currency,
the pound, yeah,
local currency. Yeah, so basically, if I, for example, I have a bank account, let's say I have $100,000. I wish, but let's say I have that bank account. Okay, basically, I can't get that money. It's all gone. So they literally, you can go to the bank. What they do is that they give you they don't give you US dollars. They give you the local currency, and they give you it at an exchange rate which is low. It's like $1 to 4,000 pounds, while in real life the exchange rate is like $1 equals to 15,000 pounds.
Oh,
so there's a very big difference, like
wow.
80% loss. But so basically, they're just giving you money to survive.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You have to know something about.
They're not giving you the
like,
value of your money.
Yeah,
essentially.
Exactly.
Right.
Like money that you have worked for, money that you have saved your entire life by working.
Yeah, but a dollar's a dollar, but
money
a dollar is not a dollar in Lebanon. Because if I have a dollar in the bank, they're only going to give me back 64 cents or whatever, right? Like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something
that's
like
crazy, man.
So yeah, exactly. Like you can't get your money. They just give you enough money to survive. And the thing is, like about economics, is that when there's a lot of the local currency out, like because the government has to print, or the central bank has to print a lot of the local currency because they can't give the people US dollars.
Yeah.
This causes inflation, which means like when there's a lot of money of the local currency out there, this is gonna cause the exchange rate to increase because that's how these things work. Like you, like your money, even if you have,
but that's true in every country.
Doesn't have any value. Yeah, like Venezuela has the same kind of situation.
Yeah, in Zimbabwe many years ago,
billion something of their local currency equals like one can of Coke.
Yeah.
Basically the print is, and we have reached a point where we have coins, for example, like the dime, the nickel, stuff like that. We have coins. Yeah. So basically, the coins, like it costs now more to make the coins than what they are worth.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like let's say they're worth 50 cents, for example. Like one coin is worth 50 cents. Okay. It now costs 70 or 80 cents to make this coin, which means it costs more to make them than what they are worth. And so a lot of people are actually like, they're not, you can't find them anymore because a lot of people are selling them. Like, imagine, like, basically we're now selling money. We're now buying money. Like, it's crazy, dude.
Unbelievable.
You have no idea.
Unbelievable, man. Listen, we got Royal X Fade watching on the Twitch platform there. By the way, Lionel, if you wanted to watch the show while you're chatting with me, just go on Twitch and search me, Archaeologistic on Twitch, and you'll be able to see me while we're chatting here. It'll maybe just add a little something to our talk. Same as here on Stereo, Archaeologistic. So yeah. Anyways, Royal is saying that the substance potassium something shouldn't have been there, and that was told to them multiple times, and they left it there in that warehouse. And so he agrees with you that it should not have. The explosive substance should not have been there in the first place. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. For the benefit of anybody joining us, we are live on Twitch. We're talking with Lionel about life in Lebanon, and I really appreciate sharing this information, man. I got to say, I don't know too much about Lebanon, other than the food is unbelievably good. Lebanese cooking, Lebanese cooking here in Canada, unbelievable restaurants, unbelievable, right? So that's the extent of my knowledge, and the fact that the explosion happened is another big one that we all sort of are aware of, right? Royal X Fade is suggesting that it was confiscated from a boat being illegally imported. Like there was a problem with it in the first place, even being there on that level, I guess. Yeah.
well, that's what they tell you in the media. Like yeah, it's probably true. But who brought the boat here? Like, we have a constitution, we have laws. The law clearly states no explosives should have entered the country in any way or
Sure,
form. But,
yeah.
Politics.
Yeah, right.
That's not gonna happen.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Now, talking about the good, you said something about the Lebanese food. Well,
Yeah.
we actually kind of like, I'm actually kind of proud of that. We have really good food, and it's I like how it's spread everywhere. Like a lot of people that I've talked on stereo, and they tell me that basically everywhere you can find a Lebanese restaurant.
Yeah.
UK, in America, and Canada.
If I drive
that's kind
for
of cool
15
because-
minutes, there's a Lebanese restaurant, man. It's not far to a Lebanese restaurant pretty much anywhere here. In Southern Ontario,
Yeah,
anyways.
that's
Yeah.
kind of cool
That's great.
because we
It's
make
great.
kind of good food. Have you eaten shawarmas before or falafels? They're not Lebanese per se. They're more like they're more local to the region, like even Turkey and Syria. But they're also kind of considered Lebanese, along with some other, of course, food that are Lebanese per se.
Well, we have
Anyways, they're all
we have shawarma huts everywhere. Everywhere there's shawarma restaurant, right? And those are sort of like a fast food experience, But we have like Lebanese restaurants, like place
Yeah,
where the
that's-
menu's
yeah.
nothing but, and they take great pride in the distinction between Middle Eastern and Lebanese food. Like they make things that are true to
Yeah, there
Lebanon,
is-
you
there
know.
is that.
Yeah, and then you know what, the
And the
price
thing
is
is-
reasonable and fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it very much. Here in
The thing is,
Canada,
a
we
lot
don't
of
have a. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, one point. A lot of other Middle Eastern countries, I think some people are actually very jealous of our food. So some people claim that our food is kind of also theirs, but that's not true.
Well, here in Canada, we're famous for a certain style of bacon. So the pea meal bacon is something that we do up here, and maple syrup and poutine, which is just French fries covered in gravy and cheese, and that's it. Like
Wow.
there is no. Okay, wait, because I gotta make a distinction here. Okay, Canadian cooking, Canadian cuisine, that's about it. All right, that's saying Canadian. But if we talk about Indigenous peoples here in Canada, thousands of years, that's the First Nations here. They have a very distinct cooking and sort of recipe lists, right? There's a lot of corn and squash, a lot of the way that they would prepare deer, for example, and yeah, it's very different than what we sell in the grocery stores and stuff. For some reason in Canada, we have billions of deer, and we're not allowed to sell it in our grocery stores. We don't sell deer meat in our grocery stores, which has always
I
blown
think
my
they're
mind.
endangered, aren't they?
No. Here in Canada, man, we have to hunt them, or we will overpopulate. So the hunters here in Canada do a great
Oh, wow.
service by actually taking care of keeping the population down, right? Yeah, and the other animals, we can probably live without hunting them at least for a few years, like moose and caribou and things. We don't probably need to hunt those. But the deer, I swear, man, if you don't hunt the deer for a single year, you won't be able to drive a car down the highway because the deer will be all over the highway, guaranteed.
Oh wow. So is the deer meat edible? Can you eat
Oh,
deer meat?
it's fantastic. Yeah, venison is fantastic, man. And you can make a ground beef out of it, like a ground it. You can make pepperettes or lunch meat style. I mean, anything you want, right? It's a
And
big
it's not allowed?
no.
Like it's illegal to?
For some reason,
Oh,
they
okay,
don't
I thought-
sell it in the grocery store. We simply can't buy deer meat as a normal
Oh, so you have to
edible
hunt it
meat.
yourself.
Yeah, you have to hunt it yourself. That's right. And I don't know why. I'll never figure out why. We have
Well,
no shortage
Justin
of it.
Trudeau has to do something about it.
That guy? Are you kidding me right now? I don't like
By the
trash
way,
talking my
you know-
prime minister because he's done some things that are good, and I don't think anybody can deny that some things he's done a good job with as far as his government is concerned. And then there's other things like he made a promise during his election campaign to make right by Indigenous people in Canada. Okay, and so the history of Indigenous people in Canada, the Europeans came and they basically tried to assimilate them, and that's putting it really gently. Basically, they tried to erase Indigenous history and knowledge and lifestyle and culture, and make them more European, right? And so that's sort of true for all of the Americas. That Americans did that as well, right?
Yeah.
But here in Canada, we have a long dark history of that extends basically still happening today in subtle ways, but even up to the 80s there were some very 90s very significant things that were still around in policy and practice in relation to how the government treats Indigenous groups here in Canada, right? And so he promised to clean that up, and he hasn't, to my knowledge, he hasn't done a single thing, not one thing right by the Indigenous groups here in Canada yet. Not even one.
Well, the question here is, why would he make that promise if he's not gonna fulfill it?
Well, because
He's not gonna keep that
it's a big vote, right? He's trying to win a majority election, so he'll say
Well, how
anything,
many-
I guess.
What's the population of Canada? What's the population of Canada?
Oh, population of Canada is roughly 330 million.
Wow, is it
Oh,
really?
no, sorry, wait. 33 million? Let's look it up, brother. I forget. I think it's around 33 million.
333 million is a lot.
No, sorry. That's America. 37 million in Canada. So
Oh, okay. So
California
how many
has more people
indigenous-
than Canada.
Yeah.
How many
Yeah,
indigenous
how many
people?
English
Quite a
people?
few. They're a big part of that.
Yeah.
You know, now, but they're all, when we say indigenous people, it's not like they're all friends. They're all vote the same. They're all the same. You know what I mean? The indigenous groups are historically in bands, right? They're in different, like the Iroquois, in there's all these sort of tribal, you can call it. I don't like using the word tribal too much, but like groups, right? All across the country,
They're not the same
right?
as Native Americans. They're not the same ethnicity.
It's very similar, but each group is different, and I mean, like, could be very different from each other, right? So the Cree in America are very different than the Iroquois here in Ontario, and very different than the
okay.
Hurons go north a bit from here, and so on, right? And so when he makes an appeal to say, you know, oh, I will do right by Indigenous people, vote for me, he's talking to a really mixed group of people there. It's not as simple as just winning over.
Well, a lot of people outside of Canada seem to like him, like your prime minister. I don't know.
Hey,
It seems like he
he's-
has good publicity.
He's got a
elsewhere.
good face of Canada, man, and he's a very Canadian dude too, as Canadians go, right? So he represents the country pretty well, in my opinion. At least we
Yeah.
could do a
Speaks
lot
French,
worse, right?
speaks English.
Oh, of course he speaks French. Yeah, that's a requirement for all politicians in Canada.
Really? Is it a requirement?
We're
Also French
we're
and-
bilingual country, and unfortunately they don't teach French
Well-
very well outside of Quebec. But so like I've taken French all my life in school, and I'm terrible at it. I mean, absolutely terrible at French. But that's due to them
Well,
teaching it poorly, basically.
I consider Lebanon also bilingual, and because like there are very few children that don't go to school. All of us like go to school, and because our native language is Arabic, of course,
Yep.
being an Arabian country.
Yep.
But they also like, it depends on the school. It depends on the education system is like, it's either in English or in French, right? Because we were colonized by the French, and we're still like very close to France, like as a country.
Yeah.
A lot of
yeah.
people like to do their master's degree at university. They go to France. A lot of us like study in France. So most of us either speak Arabic and English, or Arabic and French. So I would consider we're bilingual. Like if you go anywhere, a lot of the signs has to be in Arabic, in English, and in French, in all three languages, everywhere. Which makes it easier for tourists, anyways.
Well, you see, Lebanon,
we're-
looking at a map here, Lebanon is near so many different groups that are different than Lebanon. Like Turkey to the north, right? Syria, which has been a total
Yeah,
nightmare for the
Syria.
past 2 decades, right?
Yep.
But then Israel and Egypt and things like this, I'd imagine you see a lot of languages, not just Arabic.
Well, the thing is, like, Syrians speak Arabic as well. Like they're an Arabian country. There are not any Turkish people. Like there are very few Turkish people. But we have like there are a lot of other, like we have Armenians, for example.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how much you know about Armenia.
We have Armenian
they have a long
Canadians.
history with Turkey and genocide and stuff like that. So they've
Yes.
like a long time ago they've immigrated to Lebanon, and we have a lot of people who speak Armenian. Yeah, there are a lot of, you know what, there are a lot of people.
Oh,
Not just
yeah.
Arabic people.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. Remember when I was talking about how Canada
Yeah.
mistreated its Indigenous people? Are there what you
Yeah.
could call Indigenous, original sort of
No,
settled
no.
people in Lebanon? Is there any
We're
groups
all
like
kind
that?
of indigenous. like we all have lived in Lebanon for our entire lives. Like
Roots that go
my
back
grandfather,
thousands of years.
yeah, they go back hundreds of years. Like they have not, they're like, besides Armenians, there aren't any other people that have come to Lebanon. Well, the thing is, here's the thing. Back after the Second World War and the creation of the State of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go into that. Very controversial. Anyways, there have been a lot of like Palestinian refugees that live in Lebanon,
Yes. Okay.
and I wouldn't say they have been treated very well.
By the Lebanese government.
Yeah,
I
by
see.
the government, even by the people themselves. Like ever since also the start of the Syrian civil war, a lot of Syrian refugees. At the
Oh, I
same
can
time,
only
not really
imagine.
treated very well by the people, because here's the thing about Lebanon. Like a lot of the Lebanese people, because we're deprived of a lot of rights. Like the electricity still cuts off, like the power cuts off like most of the day. We still don't get electricity only about 2 to 4 hours a day. So we have like
Really?
private people. Yeah, we have that. I like private people who like provide electricity for like each person provides electricity for their local neighborhood. So we kind of pay to electricity bills. Anyways, there's a lot of rights that we're deprived of. So there's been this kind of grudge that we have, like, because a lot of the refugees they get aids by like the United Nations,
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
at the same time like, so basically like they, or what the people, like, I'm not talking about myself, but what the Lebanese people think is that like these people are living in our country, they're living in our land, and they're getting more than we do.
Right.
So there's
Right.
this kind
Yeah.
of grudge, you know. And I think any people, like, it would have, like in Canada, if there was to come some refugees from elsewhere and like take some of the government support that you deserve, you'd feel some kind of grudge. for
Yeah, there's actually
but there are countries
we
that
took
are
in a
doing-
whole bunch of Syrian refugees a few years ago when Trudeau's government started. Actually, there was a big rush.
Yeah, but
Syria.
Canada's capable. Like,
Well,
like
Canada,
is capable of,
very
like, they have the
capable,
money.
man.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, the money, yes, but also the space and the education system and the healthcare system. And
Exactly.
do you know what I mean? Like, we pay high taxes here in Canada because we don't pay for healthcare. Like, if I have any health issue, I just walk into a hospital, they serve me. Done. There's no
Yeah,
there's no problems, right? Yeah, and education, you pay for university, you pay for college. But even then, you could get a loan from the government to attend those schools. But other than that, education is free.
Yeah.
So you don't you have to pay
Yeah,
for a secondary education. But other than that, that's all free as well. All part of taxation, right? So, okay, well, listen, like, Canada took in a bunch of Syrian refugees, and I mean a bunch by a lot, right? We took
How
in
much?
24,000, I think, 27,000.
24,000.
Let's
You
find
know how
out.
many refugees live in Lebanon?
Okay,
How
well,
many refugees live in Lebanon?
I'm gonna say hundreds of thousands because you're right next to Syria.
Oh, okay. 1.5 million refugees from Syria alone.
1.5 million. Okay, wait. So November 29th, November 4th, 2015 to February 2016, Canada took in 25,000 refugees. So you're right, man.
Well,
that is almost
Let's
nothing
say that's
compared.
a lot.
That's
Seriously, that is so not.
well,
that is so not a lot.
to your point though, to what you were saying, there was what was called the old stock Canadians, people who considered themselves really Canadian, right? And they were pissed that we're taking in so many refugees and they're getting all this special treatment, right? They're being given a home. They're being put into the school system and the healthcare system. We're taking care of their health issues. That's our tax dollars paying for their knee surgeries and things like this, right? It really upset a lot of people, actually. There was it was a minority, but there was a lot of jerks up here in Canada who are just really mad that these people are getting more than they got they didn't even work for it. They're not even Canadian, this kind of attitude, right? Those people are totally wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Those Syrian
I-
refugees were an investment in Canada. Those people, not only is Syria, it's a bad place, man. It's a bad situation, right? And Canada took
these
in
people are
running from like real war. It's not a little tickle here, right? And so I think a lot of the older Canadians, the people, and I say older, but yeah, it was a lot of the older folks, right? I think a lot of people were pissed about it because they don't know what they were looking at. They didn't really realize.
Always the boomers.
Yeah,
That's all
I'm
that
gonna.
matters.
You know what? I don't like saying that, man. I don't like saying this. This generation's like
Okay,
this.
the
And
elderly, the elderly.
so somebody older, basically. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, we took in that many refugees, and we gave them what they needed to grow here, right? Not just
Survive,
live.
yeah.
And that's the difference. That's the investment that a country makes in the refugees. Now, what you're talking about in Lebanon is that there isn't a lot of money to give around anyways, and you have a huge amount of refugees. So how does the government, do they claim to be good at this and everything's fine, or is there obvious problems with that?
No, there are problems because Lebanon is a very small country. Like we don't have,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't have the land for that. So that's one. Also, because a lot of the goods will go. Well, they get aid. They get a lot of aid from the United Nations. So I wouldn't say our government really pays that.
Thanks for the sub,
Well,
Royal.
we still have to
Love
pay
you,
some,
baby.
like, some money, but not as much. Not as much as they get from like the United Nations and stuff like that. But it's still kind of a burden. It's still a burden for
Well, yeah, of course.
for a lot of people here, because
But-
what they do, like, here's the thing with a lot of jobs, like a lot of business owners would, like, they would prefer to give a job to someone who's to a Syrian refugee or a Palestinian refugee, because they would they would have to pay less for them, whereas if they have to hire someone from Lebanon, they have to pay much more, you know. They
Right.
have to be higher. So that's a problem. So I wouldn't say they steal. It's not stealing your jobs, but and especially at this time, us having an economic crisis. So a lot of people are looking for jobs, even just any simple job, just to get that money that they can survive off.
Of course, yeah,
So-
of
so
course.
you sometimes can understand some of the people's like opinions, and the thing is, like, the war in Syria is kind of over, and I don't know, for some reason, I don't know, it's probably a political reason, these refugees aren't like allowed to go back or something like that. So yeah, it's weird. And the thing is, like, Lebanon, we had a civil war, for example. It started in 1975. It was about 15 years
In
about
Lebanon.
1990. Yeah, in Lebanon. And the thing is, like, it was a civil war, but a lot of groups fought, and there were like even wars with Israel, and because of like the Palestinian refugees were, like, it started when Palestinians like started to like attack Israel from Lebanon, and so Israel considered like the Lebanese government like responsible for this, because they have to, like, you know, because it's coming from our land, you know, it's coming from your, like, you should stop it.
Right.
And it's very reasonable.
Wow.
Because the Lebanese government, you know, we don't have that much big of an army, so any kind of militia can't really take out our army.
No, oh, come on, yeah.
But that's the truth.
the
And then it got very religious, and yeah.
Well, I can imagine everything in that part of the world comes down to religions at some point or another. I think, yeah, it's a very deep cultural interest there. Here in
And
Canada,
the thing is,
your religion here in Canada is truly secondary to you. It's not a lot of people judge you on your religion. Not a lot of people think much about you being one faith or the other. It is something. It's not considered a primacy of defining a group or a person, right?
I told you, like, earlier, something about, like, we the younger generation. When I tell you younger generation, I'm talking about people that are probably younger, from like 40 years old, and younger.
Sure, yeah.
We don't really give a damn about religion. Like, yeah, we practice our religious beliefs,
Yeah,
and stuff like that, but we just don't care what everyone is. So I don't know, for some reason, why do we still have these kind of divisions? Like, this stuff is just over.
well,
just politics.
what we've learned here in Canada is these kind of attitudes are left over from colonial days in a lot of our laws. And so when we talk about the oppression of the Indigenous peoples, when we talk about minorities of some kind getting screwed, you can actually find expressions of that inside law, inside of how the system works, inside the education system and how it works, right? Systemic problems. And I don't mean just racism. I mean just sort of discriminatory things are sneaky like that, you know, and that's something that we've really woken up to ever since the Black Lives Matter movement, for example. But
yeah, a lot of
even then, I mean, our Indigenous groups have been pointing at it for as long as I've been
years.
alive. Yeah, as long as I've been alive, I've been
Yeah.
hearing about them saying, "Well, look at the problem," and people don't bother fixing it is the problem, right? Yeah,
Well, I'd say the situation in Canada is much better than elsewhere. Like, look at the U.S., for example. and how racism is still a thing.
Oh, they
Even after
care.
like
Culturally, they
you'd
care
think
about your race. They care for some
you'd
reason.
think this would be over by now, like 2021.
No, yeah, no,
Come
no.
on.
It's amplifying in the States, man. From everything I see and talking with Americans, and I don't, let's stop right there because I'm going to say the Americans, the friends that I've met in America, and the Americans that I meet and talk with are great people. But there's a large piece of America, I'm going to just say people everywhere in America, and it's everywhere. It's all the way from New York State to Texas and across. Like, it's just all across America. There's people who really care. They care what your ethnic background is.
Yeah, and
They see it as something that defines you, you know?
Yeah, like they like a lot of stuff about racism against African Americans, stuff like that. But the thing is, they like even they like because I've spoken to some people here, and I'm really disgusted by a lot of people that I've spoken to. There are still some racism towards other ethnicities, even whites. Like,
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just everywhere, and their civil war has ended like I don't know how much. It's gonna be like 200 years now.
It's a long
or
time.
150 years ago.
That's 3
And
generations,
it's been a
right?
very long time.
Yeah.
And they still have grudges. They still speak about it. They still have the same kind of mentality, and that's just very weird. I blame, you know, you should blame the government here. You should because they should have been more aware of the situation. Because the thing is like racism. This is about parenting, and they like you hear a lot of the stuff that no child is born racist. Well, yeah, that's true. No child is born racist.
It's true.
And how your parents raised you, and how this because even like I've spoken to some people and they tell you that a lot of the history that they've taught like in the southern states is very different from what they teach you elsewhere.
Oh yeah,
It's crazy. Like
it's very true. Yeah, for sure.
They bring because I don't know if you know much about their civil war. It was like
I do.
the southern states wanted. Yeah, they were like pro-slavery. The northern states were
Slavery
anti-slavery.
was
Well, I
one
say
aspect
anti-slavery.
of their stance. The South, generally speaking, the South didn't like the North telling them how to live their lives, and so they just blanket that,
Yeah,
right?
so
So
they
it came
wanted
down to
to, like,
racism,
secede.
right? It came down to the slavery thing, because the South had heavily invested in farming and with the slavery as a backbone of it, right? And so for the North,
Yeah.
for Washington D.C. to tell them how to live their lives, right? They didn't like that, and you know what? So it was
And
more than
the
just
thing is-
that. They didn't like them messing with them economically. They didn't like them messing with them culturally. You know, it's just they wanted to draw a line there, and so that's that Civil War in a nutshell. Racism and the slavery
Yeah.
thing's a big part of it,
Yeah.
but it's only one aspect, right?
And the thing is, like in the north, like I said anti-racism. They're not really like the people. There are a lot of people that are still racist, but
Oh hell yeah!
yeah, as you said,
Oh, yeah.
something about farms. Like there were no farms in the north. They didn't really care about.
It was different
because they
there.
don't depend on- Yeah.
It was different there because they had in the South there, because they're so close to Mexico, and so the South America thing, right? During that time, we're talking 1850s here, 1800s, right? That time
Yeah.
was a really dark time in history for North America. Here in America and Canada, the technology was low, and the education was not good, and there really wasn't a lot of medical science, and there really wasn't like a
You know,
it was just all around
Mhm.
terrible to live at that time, right? And so people had all these crazy ideas about every possible which way to live your life, and a lot of clashing views and things like that. The slavery thing, I'm really glad they figured that one out, because it's honestly a miracle that they did.
Yeah.
The slavery was long on its
Yeah.
way out around the world during that time, during the Civil War time, the freeing
Yeah.
of the slaves in America. Other places in the world had already long, in policy, not in practice, but in policy,
yeah.
they've said that they didn't want slavery to be a thing anymore. However, they still use slaves long after they enacted the policies. So it took time, basically. America
Well,
took a civil
you know
war.
what's ironic here? Like the irony is, you know, back then, like the best place to live in would have been the Middle East, these types of countries. And the thing is, we're more like kind of advanced in education, even in technology. A lot of that's what they don't really teach us about history. A lot of the major advancements in technology and in science have started, and even in literature, have started from this region. But ever since colonization happened by the British, by the French,
Mhm.
by even a lot
The
of European
Dutch.
countries, it's all been downhill since then. And the thing is, like, they've made a mess and they've left, and they didn't like fix the mess that they've made, and that mess is still, it's even amplified now.
Oh, for sure. Look at
And
South
the thing
Africa
like,
is a great
the thing
example of that.
yeah, and if you think about Europeans, like now, it's very ironic that they give like lectures on rights and freedom and stuff like that. Like, don't you remember 70 years ago when you almost killed each other and slaughtered each other? Don't you remember the Holocaust?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we still remember.
Well,
Oh
it's
my, like,
it's pretty rough, man. But I try to take the silver linings with things. The Europeans coming to Canada, for example, was a disastrous thing for the Indigenous groups here, but
yeah.
they did bring some value to those Indigenous lives. They didn't need improvement. There was nothing the Europeans brought that the Indigenous groups here needed. There's nothing that they brought, not one thing. They were fine, really fine, before the Europeans came. But they did bring some things.
Everything
They,
has-
br-
has
they
a
brought
good and bad.
technologies. They
Everything.
brought
Yeah.
a bigger access to the world. Now there's boats going back and forth from Europe to Canada, and however that may
Yeah.
advantage the Indigenous groups, which really it was a far more of a problem than it was worth, probably. But I will say that the colonization thing, the whole colonialist thing, as horrible as it was in many, many regards, and there's no diminishing it, there's no excusing it, but you can
Yeah.
put a but there. You can say some good things did come out of it. Not worth it, not worth the price of admission, but there was at least a couple things here and there that made it not okay, but it made it somehow there's something good that came out of it. Something, right? Here,
I get what you mean.
yeah, here in Canada, we have a large, diverse culture groups here. We have many, many, many people from all around the world. We have Sikh people who lived out in British Columbia since the 1800s. Like, we have such
Oh, wow.
diversity here of cultures and people for a long time. As far as Canada is concerned, it's not a very old country, right? And that's all because of the colonial thing. You know, it really is. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Well,
world
to be
opened
fair,
up.
To be fair to Canada, you also take a lot of immigrants
Yes, we do.
as well.
Not like the old people think too much. We take in plenty, and there's plenty of room to grow here. It's okay, you know. I personally
Yeah.
am a really big celebrator of immigration policies and also refugee status policies. I do consider it an investment
it has
in
to
my
be-
country. It's
It has
okay.
to be controlled.
Well,
Like,
yes,
I get that. It has to be
controlled in regard of not controlled in relation to
Not
not upsetting
overpopulating. Yeah.
the balance of things as they are. If you have too many people coming into a country at one time, it can cause major problems, like upsetting the healthcare system, like access to clean water and food, you know. But Canada, there's a lot of room here. It's okay, you know. It's unfortunate that a lot of them settle just here in Toronto and then stop there. That's the only thing I would say about that, is that I've traveled Canada many times, and I would recommend that anyone who wants to move here, don't Toronto. No, like, Canada's a big, beautiful place with so much to do and see. You don't have to stay in the big dirty city, you know. It's nice
Yeah.
everywhere, you know.
Well, probably there's gonna be a war about 30 years from now, and trust me, there will be. Yeah, and I think Canada's gonna be the safest place, because if you look at Europe now, okay, if you look at Europe is still practicing colonization on itself. Look at Spain. I don't know if you know much about this. There are a lot of groups in Spain, a lot of counties that want to like secede from Spain, but they're not even allowed. Like, they're practicing. Spain is still practicing dictatorship, by the way, just so you know. I don't know if you ever heard about Catalonia or the Basque County. Those are like two places in Spain that want to like. They've been fighting for like seceding from Spain and like making their own independent country, and Spain is not allowing that. And it's all gonna explode someday. Trust me, like, this is gonna happen.
Is this
And
a
the thing is,
significant
the EU
population? Is this a large group?
Yeah, look at Google Catalonia, for example.
Catalonia. Okay.
It's the part of Spain where Barcelona is, which is a very major city, and which the economy of Spain relies on that county by itself. Like, it's very big. Like, it has a population of 7.5 million people. It's a very good place.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, And the thing is, like the EU, the European Union, they're backing Spain on this, even though it's not right. Like these people they want their own country. What like isn't that what you stand by? Like people deciding their own right. And the thing is, why they're actually like backing Spain, because there's a lot of places in Europe that want to also make their kind of own independent countries. And so basically, Europe is on the brink of war. Trust me.
Yeah, but no,
And they're
but
just really hiding it. Or
these
suppressing it.
places are large enough to sustain themselves. Like, that's really a big question I
Exactly,
have
but-
for that. Because if they are, then
Yeah.
at least that's a starting point. Here in Canada, we have Quebec, right? And Quebec is French. That's where the French people settled in Canada in the late 1500s, right? They have a large group of people, not majority, but a large group of Quebecers want to separate from Canada. They want to be. They don't want to be Canadian. They don't want the federal Canadian government controlling Quebec anymore, right? They'd rather have France do it than Quebec, I assume, right?
But the
So-
thing is that Quebec can't sustain itself. Can it?
No, it's a frozen wasteland with mosquitoes and the farmland. It's very rough bush. A lot of it's just foresty bush, right? So
okay.
they don't have the farmland. They don't have what it takes to sustain a population that they have. Like they would have to trade to get what they need, which is fine. But
Okay.
Canada won't let them
It's just a big
separate, right?
problem. It's just a very big. It's just a pain. It's
Do we-
just painful.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll tell you this
I
though,
get what
Lionel. It won't lead to war. It's not like there'll be war for Quebec to say we're leaving Canada
Yeah.
and Canada's like the military rolls in. It's just not going to work that way.
Canada's different.
No.
The Europeans still have this kind of I don't know what to say. Like this, they still have the fight in them. If you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's just crazy. The whole world is crazy. And there's a lot of tensions. Like ever since the Soviet Union was not a thing anymore, we were just oof, fine, that's gone. We don't now have to
Wow.
worry about a nuclear war between the U.S. and between U.S. and Russia and the Soviet Union. But now as Russia is it's coming back to that kind of state, and it kind of you can feel it. You can feel it with their politics. And
There's
their
like
president. He's
tension. Yeah.
There's tension, and he wants to grab those countries back that were part of the Soviet Union. And it's just crazy, if that happens.
But Russia has
That's just
always
gonna-
wanted that. Russia has always wanted Ukraine as actual they wanted, and
Well, to be fair,
Anywhere
to be fair
nearby
to
as
them,
well.
To be fair to them, a lot of people that live in those nearby countries, like Ukraine, Belarus,
Yep.
those kind of countries, they're originally Russian.
yes,
So,
they are.
They have the right to be part of Russia at the same. But the thing is, I don't really know much, but that's how the media show it, is that Russia is being very aggressive about those kind of they just barge into any place that they consider is their own. It's kind of like how Hitler did it.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Well, the Germans,
They did
that
it-
lived in
Hitler
Austria,
did it very
the
differently.
whole of Austria.
I don't want to believe a lot of what I read about Russia, because I do believe that a lot of major
Yeah.
news outlets, especially American sources, are biased towards what they say about North Korea, Russia, places like this,
But don't
China,
Canada-
right?
I think Canada, everything the U.S. does, Canada does. You support the speaking about politics and foreign policy.
Oh, Canada
Canada does
is.
really support wherever they go.
We're just a hat that America wears, man. You know that, right? That's literally.
Yeah.
We really are. We're distinct culturally to a point, right? We're all raised on American TV. We all, American rock and roll.
Yeah, you are kind
You
of
know.
similar, actually, in a lot of ways.
Oh, so similar.
I think you're.
Canadians
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
admit that. Canadians don't want to admit how American they really are. It's just a fact
You know
of
what?
life here, but we really are very
thing is,
American.
If you never told me you were Canadian, I would have thought you were American.
Of
for
course,
example.
yeah, for sure. But the thing to me about that is that what you suggest in Europe, I do see a lot of problems in sort of fundamental policy and how the countries differ from each other. So one country, Italy, for example, Italy and Greece are a great example of how there's strong problems with the rest of Europe. They do not agree with certain things, with money in particular, right?
Yeah, you have
You
to
know?
think about Europe is very, very divided. It's very diverse.
It seems
what
to
I'm
be
saying?
working though, right? The EU
Yeah,
is a new
for
idea.
now, for now.
right?
Nothing lasts forever.
Oh well, okay.
I'm gonna say that.
That's pretty true, man.
No, that's like it's not like me wanting them to fight or have a war. It's just how life moves, you know. Nothing lasts forever.
That's true. That's
Like,
true,
and,
man.
like the European Union is worried about a lot of countries. Trust me, they're worried about the Spain situation, even the Poland. Because I don't know. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube. I have free in my free time. I do watch a lot of history. I'm very interested in that kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah. I read a
So
lot of
they're
news
kind of worried
and
about
history.
they're kind of worried about Poland now, for example, because Poland is having like I think the politicians that have been elected, they have this like nationalist mentality. You know what that means? Like
Yeah.
they're very national. Yeah, they don't want to be associated with any other country. You know, it's kind of like what Hitler had. What Hitler told his people that you have to be. Because if you think about it, like all of these current Germans right now, their grandfathers, they have probably been Nazis. Like they've supported Hitler and his Nazi party.
Sure.
And that's the thing. And do you know who to blame? Do you know who we should blame, or the world should blame for the emergence of someone like Hitler? It's the Europeans themselves, because they love to humiliate whoever they defeat. So back in the First World War, when Germany was defeated, right? They utterly humiliated the German people. They told them, you know, you can't have an army. They made them pay a lot of money. And so this guy comes and says, okay, well, no, we shouldn't allow that. We should be one people. I will bring back the economy to a much better state. I will make an army. We will get back the regions that have been taken from us. And these people are going to support him. And they did support him. And that's the thing about politics and war. We just have to be very diplomatic. We just can't be very aggressive with dealing with everything. Like,
Well, I'll tell you, man. I teach my kids. I'm a daddy, you know, and I teach my kids to celebrate the differences between us. When someone is different than you,
Yeah,
or
like,
someone has a different
what's the
idea
wrong-
than
yeah.
you, try to your first instinct should be a positive one. You should be like, that's really interesting. Can you teach me? Can you tell me why? Can you know? You don't have to accept what everybody thinks and says. You don't have to do what everybody says you do. But if you can just have that first instinct attitude of you're different, that's a good thing, and it's going to help me. It's going to make my life better. The fact that you're different than me, and like think of like communism versus democracy, right? I personally don't want to live in a communist country. Okay. Because I've traveled to a couple places that were communists, you know what I mean, and it's how they live is so different than here that I don't think I could ever adjust. I honestly don't think it'd be normal for me.
Sorry to interrupt you here, but there's one thing that has to be said. Yeah, of course, I don't think anyone wants to live in a communist country, but at the same time, capitalism is very flawed. Like,
oh
you
yeah,
know,
self-admitting, really though.
It is very flawed.
It is, but no one in the world walks around saying capitalism is perfect. What
Yeah, exactly.
They always go back to the famous quote, and I believe it was by Churchill, but I'm not sure. I can't remember who said it, but capitalism is the worst form of government that's better than all the rest, or something like this. I can't remember the exact quote, but it's, you know, it's the only thing. It's the only thing that works. Yeah, well, in the sense that people actually feel like they're a part of their leadership thing, right? And there's the fundamental thing. But as 2020 and 2021 has shown us more than ever before, is that the people, there is a grand disconnect between the people and the government in a democratic society. Our votes do not get things done. Very rarely get things really, really done. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And that's complex, of course. You know what I mean? I don't like painting things with one brush, right? But you know what we've learned over the past like decade, especially more than ever before, is the ineffectiveness of capitalist, communist, or capitalist like democracy, right? And so we have people in Canada right now walking around suggesting that communism is a solution. But I think a lot of those people have never been to a real communist country, right? To see how that is.
Those people have never lived in a communist.
It's bad. or at least by my
Yeah, it is.
perspective, and I don't like putting people down. There are people in China who love the Chinese party. They think that is Chinese communism is the greatest way to
Well-
have a country.
well,
They think that, and they believe it.
That's-
And okay,
There are a lot of people that do, but there are a lot of people that don't. At
In
the same time,
China,
they
yeah.
don't have a choice.
no, God no, man.
They have
God
to.
no.
They have to support the That's
Well-
like with North Korea. Like you have to support your government no matter what.
Well, I'll tell you, my wife and
Yeah,
my wife and I traveled Cuba a little bit. Wonderful place, wonderful people, and no one in Cuba would talk about the police with us. No one in Cuba would talk about politics with us. No one, and I mean
Oh wow.
no one. They don't
Well,
talk about
I just
police.
talked to
They
you
don't
about-
talk about government.
Hmm.
Right? They're a
Well,
communist
I don't know-
country.
I don't know
See?
if like I talked to you about my country's politics. I don't know if I'm ever gonna like. I feel like the like the country's or the government's intelligence gonna knock on my door now.
No, well, okay, yeah.
Well-
See, Lebanon seems to me to be a place that people can sit at
But
freedom of speech. That's right. Asterisk Guy on Twitch just says no,
Yeah, there
no
is-
freedom
there's
of speech, and as simple as that, right? It comes down to the fundamental of freedom of speech. But
Yeah.
like in Lebanon, can you sit in
you
a
know what?
cafe that's busy? People can hear what you're saying, and can you just talk politics? No one cares, right?
You know, all things considered, despite everything that goes in Lebanon, it's still one of the best places you can go to in the region you can live in because there is freedom of speech.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
media do have a kind of independency. They can say whatever they want. A lot of people go on and criticize a lot of the politicians. Well, so the politicians do get sometimes angry if you curse or swear at them, but that's just how it goes. Like,
Yeah, I don't care about their feelings very much. Listen, I want to take just a second to thank Streamer Boost. Stereo app is actually liking this on Twitter right now, so thanks very much for the support there. Crystal Dragon Beats, Jackal, Streamer Wall, and Zale. Thanks very much for the Twitter love for the show, guys. We're talking with Lionel right now on Twitch and on Stereo. We're talking about life in Lebanon. I hope you guys on Twitch are really enjoying this. All right, we're having just a good chat. You know what I mean?
yeah.
All right, there we go. So, but listen, I really do want to. I'd love to take this up again, Lionel, if you don't mind, man. I mean, we can have this chat some other time.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. I've learned a lot about Lebanon. You are
Yeah.
welcome to come to Canada, man. Anytime you want to come visit, you come on
Thank
up. All right,
Thank you very much.
right
It's been a
on.
pleasure talking to you.
I'll see you around. Until next time, okay?
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right, ciao for
Sure,
now.
sure. We'll see. See ya. Bye-bye.
There you go, guys. Have a chat with Lionel. Great guy. For sure. I told him to check me out on Twitch. Maybe he's watching right now. If not, he should give me a follow just so that I go live again. We're going to do this again sometime. It's super fun to talk to people from around the world. I'm learning so much. I'm learning about what life is like. So, Lebanon, if you look it up on Google Maps, you will... if you don't quite, if you know, picture where Lebanon is, actually look at where it is. It's a very unique place in the world. It is soaked in history, no doubt, like just crazy history. And yeah, it's just an amazing place. I can't even believe it, right? So we're really lucky to have a chat today about that, all right? I am going to pull the plug on the stream. Hour and a half's good enough for these chats, all right? Thank you very much for listening, guys. Thanks very much for checking out the podcast on Spotify and iTunes and Google Podcast and all the other platforms that it's available on. This show just goes to the podcast format. So when this is done on Twitch, if you missed something, if you want to check it out again, you maybe want to pass it on to a friend, whatever you want to do. What do you want to do? I don't know what you want to do. It'll be sitting there on Spotify for you. So thanks for hanging out. All right, Sky, you're awesome. Royal, you're awesome. Ciao for now.
Automated tech.